I have a primary interest really in the issue of war, and I was really somewhat gratified and surprised in my own reading and research and so forth to come to the conclusion that unexpectedly that the book of Revelation itself, and particularly this image of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, which is what I'm going to focus on, is really a profound diagnosis of and basically projection of the force, imaginative projection of the forces of war itself. So I see the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse as kind of a core of the book, and it's sort of written in code. You could use the word code. That brings imagery to some people that might not be exactly on target, but written in such a way that if you have eyes to see and can penetrate beneath the text, you really have a diagnosis of the forces of war itself. And I think the book as a whole does this, but I think more specifically the image of the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse does it in the most profound way. The four horses are interesting in several ways. First of all, I think they're in sequence. There are four horses. There is a white horse, there is a red horse, there's a black horse, and then there is a pale green horse. They are sequential. I think the first horse is white, and it really is meant to address the issues involved in the establishment of the culture of war. And the second horse penetrates into that culture and lays it bare for us. So the first horse establishes the culture. The second horse lays bare, once the culture is established, what lies at its heart. And the third horse, it seems to me, is a diagnosis of the human system that keeps this culture in place. And that those three together, taken in totality, lead us to the fourth horse, which is the only one named in the text, death. And unfortunately, that's the end of the road that these horses trod down in our human experience. They lead to death. So if we can imaginatively read the text and see that these decisions that we're making lead us to death, perhaps we'll change some of these decisions and find a new direction. So that's where the optimism lies in the book, and particularly in this image. An interesting question is whether one is optimistic after reading all of this material. Well, I'm optimistic in one way and pessimistic in another. And the optimism is we have this opportunity. If we take the time to read the text and to study the map, if you will, we have a solution. We have a kind of solution to the age-old problem of war and violence and so forth. So I'm optimistic in that way. Whether or not we will do that, I think that's an open question. I think the good news is it's not inevitable. It's not inevitable. I think this is really the crucial point. It's not inevitable that we are going to continue down the path of our destruction. So that's good news. There's optimism there. Whether we'll have the sense to back off, I'm not a prophet. So I don't know. I only know that I think the authentic community of faith needs to keep this option before the human community. Keep the option on the table. And that's what we are. As Christians, we're keeping the option alive.